life on Earth is the quickness with which it appeared. We have fossils of life on Earth dating back 3.5 billion years, which is within a couple of 100 million years after the end of the heavy bombardment, which previously made life on Earth uninhabitable. We have arguable fossils that many people defend and others contest, that from 3.8 billion years ago, virtually simultaneous with the end of the heavy bombardment. And recently I read an article about some claims of evidence of life that was 4.2 billion years old, which would put it in the middle of the heavy bombardment, and perhaps maybe it appeared but didn't last, that it maybe happened during a brief pause. But in any case, whichever, even if you believe the most conservative of this is 3.5, it appeared quickly. And so the question is, why? Is it because life appears from chemistry spontaneously very quickly? Or was life around? Were there spores of life around, either natural or seeded, extraterrestrials sending out protected spores, that so as soon as a planet becomes able to support life, it gets it. Just like on Earth, it doesn't take long for any barren place becomes seeded with life because there are seeds flying all over the place all the time. So what is it? Is it that life emerges from chemistry spontaneously through self-organization quickly, or are we basically, the early experiments with spontaneous generation, some people thought that life spontaneously generated on a culture medium until it was shown, well, no, it's because actually there's spores and seeds and bacteria and whatever, germs, if you will, flying around, and then if any place is exposed, it gets seeded quickly. Which is it?
Well, we're science fiction writers, so we believe it happens quickly and everywhere because that's what makes good science fiction.
Yeah, well, it clearly happens quick. Okay, by the way, let me just say something. The members of this panel, in addition to be science fiction writers, all have a scientific background. Okay, Larry Niven was a mathematician before he became a science fiction writer. Greg Benford and David Brin are astrophysicists, and I think Brin went full-time as a writer at a certain point. Benford continued to be a working scientist to this day. And Jeff Landis is a physicist and engineer at NASA. So these people are not just talking, but like the fools in Shakespeare, as science fiction writers, they're able to tell the truth.
Yes.
Okay.
And Jeff, even more than that, is like every character you see on Star Trek, except for the aliens, a government employee.
I've been from Oregon, sure. And it's not right.
He advertises.
So Bob has a paper out about the panspermia notion, the notion of the spreading of, deliberate spreading of information of bacteria by aliens.
You notice it's never Panova? Just saying.
Panobia.
Panova, a new rock band.
The different take he takes on it is that they are sending these bacteria only half to live, and the other half of their genome is recorded message information. But my novel Existence is basically about that.
It's about existence.
Well, it's got just about the most arrogant title. Larry, did you have something you wanted to say about this?
Yeah, I should say a word in favor of the church system. The idea is the galaxy has been conquered by alien life, and they own the galaxy. But when they say that, they're talking about only the red dwarf stars. They haven't come here because there's no red dwarf star to visit, and no planets serving their kind of life. Eventually they land. Red dwarfs apparently occupy about 75% of the galaxy. If something is developed in terms of life, it would be surprising if they weren't associated with red dwarfs. We should be looking in that direction.
Yeah, it's a whole galaxy full of short people.
I always preferred Dr. George.
Short Republicans.
Doctor what?
But again, I'd like to pose, I was asking a more direct question.
We were dodging the question, you noticed that.
Did it appear swiftly because life self-generates swiftly, or because life is already there and it's ready to pounce whenever?
As I was saying earlier, you don't need to, I don't believe you need to spread life through you. Even the original panspermia guys, Fred Hoyle, Chandra Wickramasinghe, and the cult that has formed around them, even they say that it started somewhere, and it spread from that point.
Yeah, it's like a franchise with.
If you were to calculate the sheer volume of energized, magnetized, active, salty water inside the several trillion comets that at the beginning of our solar system had molten interiors because of recently created supernova dispersed aluminum-26, you would have more test tubes, you would have more volume of water than 100 Earths. Earth, they think Darwin said a calm little pool. So I'm not really concerned about that part of the Drake equation. I'm much more concerned about the parts that are about whether or not there's a great filter. That's the phrase that's used by Nicholas Bostrom and some of the other gloomy, doomy guys who say that if there's a lot of life in the universe and intelligence happens, then we're doomed, because the thing that's keeping down the number of extraterrestrials out there lies ahead of us. The filter lies ahead of us rather than behind us. So they think it would be bad news to find life elsewhere.
Dr. Zubrin, you spoke of the quickness with which life evolved. Have you noticed the slowness with which it evolved genetics? Life was life, but it wasn't evolving
Yeah.
for a couple of billion years.
Use eukaryotes.
Yeah.
Well,
That's an interesting
before that,
point.
there was the transition, the blue-green algae were slowly converting the atmosphere, but the oxygen was getting sucked up by the exposed iron.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, the algae, the cyanobacteria had it, but the algae developed photosynthesis. And when that happened, they poured out so much oxygen and pulled out so much CO2 that the Earth froze. We had the reverse of climate change, and you've got an ice age that covered the whole planet. And so life creates crises. And we're creating a crisis right now on this planet called the Anthropocene.
Yeah, I got two comments. One is to point out that these two answers, is these to make life or did it get imported illegally, are not exclusive. They can both be true. The second observation is, I've known Nick Bostrom a long time. He was a fellow at Oxford. I was a fellow at Cambridge back in the good old days. But you know what, this whole idea of the filter that civilizations have to get through, and most don't get through it, and only the elite do, betrays his anxiety over getting into Oxford itself. Just a little personal comment, direct experience.
I don't know.
He didn't make it, almost. I mean, he was very close. He was a philosopher. You know how hard that is.
Well, you
That's
open a
actually a
small
joke.
philosophy shop, or you go to work for one of the big philosophy companies.
At the IBM of philosophy, he was waiting to see how he went on. Seriously, he was very anxious about that, like most guys from the Midlands.
I should point out there's another real problem that we face, and that is Woody Allen in his movie Radio Days promised us 5 billion more years for this planet, and he lied. As it happens, the sun has been getting hotter, and it was cooler back when we had the iceberg Earth. And now that can't happen. And the thing that's most different about our Earth from all the other water worlds that are out there is where we are in relation to our Goldilocks or continuously habitable zone. The Earth skates the very, very inner edge of our sun's CHZ. Any farther in, and we'd be in big trouble, and that boundary is moving out. So within 100 million years, barely more than the time since the dinosaurs, no matter how transparent we keep our atmosphere and how, few internal combustion engine cars we have, we're going to be kind of screwed.
Right.
So
Put
the
that in
question,
your appointments calendar.
so then the question is, can we save this world?
Sure, you just move it.
We move
The
it.
scheme has been described for moving the earth outward,
Umbrellas.
or moving the earth anywhere you like. It involves dropping the moon in front of the earth repeatedly. So we are gonna need space travel before we can solve this problem of the expanding Pandora.
Yeah.
Got the wrong word.
But this is an engineering problem. We're scientists here.
No, but scientists say how easy the engineering will be. All we need is a stable civilization that's rich enough to care about this for 100 million years. If you